Good evening, Shayna. Welcome, everyone. I trust you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and now we're back on our regular Wednesday night schedule. And happy to start with you again this evening. All right, I'm going to open up with that special prayer that I've been using the last couple of months, and I'm going to open up with that prayer in Aramaic now. Shall we pray? Al Haile Ruhe Tamaran Ishua Mishicha Misharenan Milap Milte de Maria Allaha Haya. Amen. All right. I have several announcements to make right off at the beginning, and then I'll probably do it again at the end. And that is, I want to announce our Christmas special. You should be receiving it by now in your email, and it's called a Christmas special. And you'll see that picture there, the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. And what I'm doing is inviting everyone to this Aramaic School of Light teaching. There is no charge for it. If you haven't gotten it, you need to do this now. We invite you to join us for an insightful, special Christmas program on Saturday, December 10th, from 1 o'clock until 3 Eastern Time. We are presenting a short 20 to 30 minute, I will be doing this, on the birth story of Jesus from a Near Eastern point of view, that is, from the Aramaic culture and language. And this presentation is not based on our Western understanding of Jesus' birth narrative that we call Christmas. I will be there, Reverend Freewatt, and the entire staff of the Nukhra Foundation will be present. Tom Mendito, Lynn Eisenman, and we'll have a special surprise. And a surprise appearance of our Assyrian guest, Rebecca Johns, whose father was from the same place and region as Dr. George Lamsa, known as Marbishu. We also will be showing a map of Marbishu, where Dr. Lamsa was from, and I also have some press releases revealing the area known as the Garden of Eden and Marbishu. So this is going to be a very special thing, and I'm also going to be presenting, I didn't put it in here, the actual manuscripts that Dr. Lamsa did his translation from Aramaic into English. I have them, in fact, right here tonight, but I will be showing them December 10th, okay? And there's a marvelous story behind those manuscripts that took place in San Antonio when all these manuscripts were in what we call the Steve's house, which was behind the church, was owned by the church. This is where we put our guests and everything when I was in San Antonio. So that's going to be a special surprise too. Okay, we are opening also a large segment of time for you to ask any question you like, as long as you stick it to the scriptures. And Rebecca Johns will also, after she does a little bit of a talk, is open to receive questions. This is your time to celebrate with us. So we want you to celebrate Christmas with us. So invite your loved ones and family who may be interested. However, everyone needs to register. I mean, everyone has to register with the Nukhra Foundation for this session because we are limited on attendance. So we can only allow just so many. And how can you register? You can register by phone, and we have an 888 number that you can call, or the regular number, which is a 678. Or you can do it by email, which some of you always have done with Lynetta. Okay, we're looking forward to seeing you on December 10th, and we're all wishing you have a wonderful, healthy, blessed Christmas. Okay? I wanted to make that announcement. Also, 2 Sundays ago, on the 20th of November, I spoke for Living Truth 365. If you go on their Facebook, and how do you get on their Facebook? You go to our website and you'll see, go to the scheduling and find Living Truth 365 and click on that to get on their Facebook. But you're going to have to go back on a Sunday because it was on the 20th that I did this special program. I did it on the 7 sayings of Jesus, the 7 I ams. But the 2 that I developed was on my talk, and I explained why, understanding why Jesus would say, "Enana, I am the truth and the life." But he didn't. I didn't talk on that particular one. I talked on 2 other ones, but I explained why Jesus did that. Why did he emphasize that in the Gospel of John, where in the other Gospels, he turns around and tells us, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. And yet in John, he emphasizes strictly, he is the light of the world. He is the bread of life. He goes into what we call the 7 I ams, but I'll explain why. Most people don't know why. And this is the first time I ever revealed that. I never taught it as, and you think I have, but I haven't. That's the first time I revealed that, what Jesus was doing when he was talking about the I ams. So if you want to see that talk, go to that Facebook, Living Truth 365, go to our website and click on that, but always go back for the 20th. They always keep it up. And at least, I don't know if they'll have it changed after the 3rd Sunday, because they already had another Sunday program after that. So that was the 20th of November. Okay, I wanted to announce that. And also, I'm doing a special talk. Some of the talk I'm going to be doing for UTM, Universal Truth Ministries, I will be doing for our own Christmas program. But if you want to hear a little more, I'm going to be doing that for UTM this coming Sunday. And also on the following Sunday, I have 2 Sundays in a row for Universal Truth Ministries. And you can go again to our website to click on that to get on the UTM. Okay. And that's at 7 o'clock Sunday evening. And I'm speaking on they changed the title. They didn't keep it the birth story of Jesus of Nazareth. They changed it. Who was born on Christmas Day? Who was born on that particular day that we celebrate? He wasn't born on that day at all. He wasn't born in December at all. But we don't know the date. We just don't know it. The people at that time made it convenient to fit the Western world, and we put it on the 25th. Some people say it was in October. Some say it was in September. No one knows. No one knows. I don't know. Dr. Lambda didn't know. No one knows the exact date. But we do know that it probably wasn't in December. But that's beside the point. The thing is, who cares? The thing is, who was born that celebrated? And that's what I'm going to be emphasizing, okay, for the talk with UTM. Okay, I wanted to make those particular announcements. Now we're ready to start our own program this evening. So get ready with your questions. What I did is, I almost forgot. Remember, we talked about that book that we all were talking about, the near-death experiences and that, and I couldn't remember the title of the book and I remember the author, which was Dr. Silverman, but I couldn't remember the title of the book. Well, here's the book. This was given to me as a gift sometime this year. I forgot when. It goes back this year. It's called A Burst of Conscious A Birth of Conscious Light. He's going to be discussing the Shroud of Turin, but he's also going to go into the limitless potential of humanity. Oh, this is worth everything in this book. I want to give you a little taste of what's in there. And so listen carefully as what he says here. Throughout history, people have described themselves and the world around them by using concepts. And this is what I emphasize all the time. I always talk about the living expression and not just concepts. Okay. Drawn from everyday experiences. Around the time of the Industrial Revolution, the universe and the human body were believed to be like mechanical clocks. More recently, since the information technology revolution, being processed by our minds are merely the product of information being processed by the brain, just like a computer. There is even speculation that our minds could be uploaded to machines so that we might transcend mortality. Many in the scientific community are now raising concerns about this trend. Research institutes have been set up in the premier seats of the learning of the world, including the University of Oxford and Cambridge, where crucial questions about humanity and its prospects are being discussed by some of the world's leading intellects. These leading minds, including Professor Stephen Hawking, have suggested that the biggest threat to humanity may not be asteroids, nuclear war, or climate change, but rather the unanticipated effects of technology when combined with artificial intelligence. With evidence centered in reason and empirical science, this book, A Burst of Conscious Light, demonstrates how and why the human mind cannot be reduced to data or software. If we fail to consider the warnings such as those from Oxford and Cambridge teams, then the continued existence of human race will indeed be in peril. And one other thought he has in here, this will really blow you, this one. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm afraid I've lost it. I had something else that was really good. Anyway, you can't go wrong with this. This is such a tremendous book. Oh, here it is. As we have seen, it's talking about a scientist. Schrödinger suggests that time is a product of mind. Time is a product of mind. Remember, when I quote John 1:1, I don't say the word was in the beginning. I say my energy of mind was always in existence, because milta means energy of mind. It has many other meanings too. He also derived from this that mind cannot have a beginning or an end. This means that we, that is you and I and all other sentient beings, trace our origins from the ultimate state of union of no thingness, nothingness, nothingness meaning no thingness. I use the term no thingness to express the notion that you are someone rather than something. And I just gave you a little flavor of what's in this book. It's fantastic. And it talks about the Shroud of Turin and what they have discovered about it. I've read a lot of stuff on it in the beginnings and I just didn't care for it. But this one really opened my heart and mind, and also what he also teaches about the life after death. It's wonderful, really good, what we really do possess. Okay. And now I wanted to go on with our teaching. We get back to the Aramaic. And the only reason I brought that out is because I mentioned it in one of two of my talks, past talks, and I forgot the title of the book. Okay. Now, what I put on the board here are Aramaic words. You see this funny looking word here? That is, in fact, we have no English equivalent for this shape of this letter right here. This is a consonant and this is a consonant. And we have no shape in English for this right here. And what I'm saying is, I put it in English, but English, goes this direction, and the Aramaic goes that direction, from the left to the right. So this word, how I pronounce it is ul, ul. That's how I say that, ul. So how can I produce a word called oh, oh? That's what I'm saying when I'm saying this letter right here. Oh, oh. It's a glottal stop in the throat when I pronounce it. Oh, and I say it when I do the opening prayer. When I say ul, 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 haile. The prayer that I opened up with. This is the first word I say right there. Al. And really it's it's in the throat. I'd sometimes put it forward because people don't get what I'm saying if I just go so that's why I say oh, but it's not al, it's al when I say this word right here. And what does that word mean? This is the ancient language. This is what the manuscripts were written in, and I put it in the form of the ancient. And there were no dots there whatsoever. This is what they did later, so you know how to pronounce it, what kind of a sound you're going to produce in the glottal stop in your throat. So, and this here now is a preposition. When I start the prayer, I open it up with a preposition. I say upon. When I use this word, I'm saying upon. It also implies with. It implies with. It's not the word with, but it implies it. Al, upon, and I say haile, upon, or with the power or energy. I can also say help of and spirit of our Lord Yeshua, or Master, our Lord and Master Yeshua Mashiach. In the prayer. That's just this one word here, al. And it has many meanings as a preposition: on, upon, over. And you have to be careful when you translate with this word, because you'll get different meanings. This is why, for the first time in history, we have a author, Dr. George M. Lamsa, who translated from his own language into English. If any fault can be found with Dr. Lamsa's translation, it's maybe he didn't quite use the exact full expression of the Aramaic word because of English. But this is what he was born speaking this language, and also received all his degrees, and he spoke 8 different languages. So besides Aramaic, his own native tongue. And this is the first time we have a translator translating from his own native tongue into English. No other Bible translator can say that. Even when I translated, I can't say that. But of course, I learned it through Dr. Lamsa, and I learned to read and write and to pronounce the words with Dr. Lamsa, and also Michael Bazi, and who is Chaldean, but Dr. Lamsa was Assyrian. So this has many meanings. Why did I put this in here? Because I used it for this word right here. And remember, we go this direction. This word right here is in the Lord's Prayer, where I say, la ta'lan. This is the word that you hear me. This is what I'm, when I learned it, this is the word I learned. This is a T, and this is that glottal stop again, and that's an L, and that's an N. I didn't put the dot system in here, but I pronounce that word. You hear it? It's in here. Alarm. And that means to enter into. To enter into. So here it's a preposition. Here it's a verb. And the T makes it a polite command. This is an imperative. This is a verb, but it's an imperative verb. That is, it's a command. And what you're saying is, I say another word in front of it. I say, ula, ula, la means no. And no, but you see, we can't say that in English. And no, I have to say, and do not let this T right here is part of the command, and it's an imperative, but a very, very polite imperative that implies let not. Let not. That's what we're saying. And let not. Okay. So I'm just breaking this down. Most people don't know what I would do when I'm translating. I'm explaining things to you that most people don't know when they're reading the Aramaic. Okay. So this means let. This is the imperative form, polite imperative form, a command. And let, because I said la, and do not let, and here this lan, this LAN means us. Us. When I say on, us. Let not us enter. Let not us enter. In other words, keep me out of trouble. Let us not enter. And do not let us enter in, what do we say? La ta'lan litnisiona. And do not let us enter into temptation. You don't have to ask God, don't lead us into temptation. Can you imagine going to your parents and saying to them, don't lead us into temptation? You have bad parents if you do. I couldn't, when I was on TV in one of the states, I don't remember which state that was in, because I was on a lot of TV programs, newscasts, all over the United States in different states. But I remember when I was talking to this one person, she was interviewing me, and she said she could not see the difference between let us not enter into temptation as prevent me from getting into trouble, and lead us not into temptation. Lead us not into temptation. She didn't get the difference. I just gave up. I said, okay, there's no difference. I couldn't get it through to her. So, and she was the interviewer with me. That's how far deep our dogma and teachings that we grew up in Sunday school with have such a strong hold in our minds that we have improper images of God, improper images of even when we read the scriptures, because we were taught it in another manner, in another way, and dogmatically, not even a chance for, well, it may be a little different. No, it's only this way and this way only. That is bad. So I wanted to show you that word. And this can change in different meanings, this word. It's used in all different kinds of other words, but I wanted to bring out and do not let us enter and on or upon. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. Remember when we talked about the question that came up about the spirits entering into the pigs? Okay. This is the word that's used. Out. It does mean to enter, but it also means to attack. To attack. And it also means to be against something. So-and-so is against so-and-so. We use this one word, out. So you can see how easily mistranslations can occur, and misunderstanding, and the way they translated it. It wasn't spirits that entered into the pigs when Jesus healed those men. It was the men who attacked the pigs and shoved them off into the water. And it's because of this one little word here. This is why I was presenting this to you tonight. This little sound, can mean to attack, to enter in, to be against, and how, oh my gosh, it has so many meanings in Aramaic. So that's very important when you understand that. And the word taklan. And one more word I put on here, and then I'm going to open for your questions. And that is this word here. Shawq. Shawq is how we pronounce it. That's S-H. That's really a B, but there's a dot under it, which means it becomes soft. It becomes aspirated. And that's soft. And soft means it can become a V or a W. A V or a W. So when I say that here, it can be SHW, and that's a Q, but it has a K sound. It's a Q, but a K sound. So I say shawq, shawq. I just didn't put the dot system in for the vowels. So it's shawq. This word, if you have an Aramaic dictionary from Aramaic to English, it has 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns of meanings for this one root word, shawq. And what does shawq mean? Well, it means to forgive. It means to forgive. It means to untie. It means to release. It means to loosen. I'm just giving you just a teeny little bit of the meaning of that one word. So if you have to know context, you have to know culture, you have to know the nuance of each change. And here's the awful thing about Aramaic, even the verbal system. For instance, the word to kill in Aramaic is katol, and it's the same thing in Hebrew, katol. But in Aramaic, as you change it into different types of verbs, it will change meaning. It will change meaning. One place it may mean to kill, another place it may mean to slaughter. But it's the same word. Pronounced a little differently, but it's the same spelling, katol. That's how we say that, katol. It has the same 3 letters, KLT, katol. KTL, I'm sorry, katol, KTL. And as it progresses into the different verbal forms, it will change meanings. Sometimes, at least, slaughter is close to the word kill, but sometimes it changes the meaning entirely. Entirely. And that's why I use this word, shawq, because this is how it got translated as, why have you, this is on Good Friday, why have you forsaken me? I'll pronounce it for you in Aramaic. El, oh God, oh God. Mana, mana, that's not the word I'm looking for. Mana, to, that means to what? To what? Mana, and it also can mean why. You have to know this whole setting. Mana, and then here's the word. Listen to, remember what I said that word is shawq? Now I'm going to pronounce that word for you in Aramaic, where Jesus said it on the cross. El, mana, shwakten. Do you hear it? Do you hear the shwak in it? Shwakten. El, mana, shwakten. And it is, to what an end you have left me, not forsaken me. In other words, you have left me to fulfill this destiny. The implication is you have left me to fulfill this destiny. All right, like for instance, if I'm going to say to leave bread. For instance, you're going to give me some bread. And so you're leaving it on the table and saying, hey, I left the bread on the table for you. I'm leaving you this bread. I'm not forsaking it. I'm giving it to you as a gift. Here's the bread. And it's that word Shawq is what I have to use. The word to forsake, there are two other words for forsaking in Aramaic, and that's ta'atan and sha'atan. So Jesus didn't use those words. Why have you forsaken me? To what an end you have kept me. Dr. Lamsa translates it that way. And then it has the same implication. To what you have left me, to what you have kept me. Lamsa, because that word Shawq also means you're leaving something for a purpose, for the bread, you know, for me to eat it later or for someone else to eat it. Okay, you're not forsaking it, you're just giving it. And what he's saying here, Jesus is saying that he is fulfilling his destiny. You are leaving me here for this fulfillment of destiny. Not God can't forsake anybody anywhere. Let me tell you, if God forsook Jesus at Calvary, then God is not everywhere. Do you hear what I said? God can't forsake anyone, any place, anywhere in the universe. God is universal. Universal. It's a universal presence, a universal consciousness all over, everywhere. And how could he forsake Jesus? Where would he go to forsake him? Okay, here's an empty space by Jesus. I've forsaken him. All of a sudden. No. Again, it's how this is why it took a native of the Aramaic language to translate this. And there are lots of people. I have several books here. I'll show it to you. The Peshitta, by the way, that's pronounced Peshitta. Don't pronounce it the way it's written there at all. With the I-T-T-A, that's not correct. It is, everyone pronounces it with the I, because look, you have S-H-I-T, and you don't want to pronounce it that way at all. It's Peshitta, like a sheet, like sheets you put on a bed, like that. It's a double E sound. It's a hawassa in Aramaic, so it's Peshitta, Peshitta. And this is a translation, and oh my God, what he has done. This is the entire Bible, all in the Peshitta. And some things he did are pretty good, but he did it from a book. He did it from a book. And just because he knew some Assyrian people didn't mean he could do this. He did it from a book, technically. So a lot of things he did was pretty good in here. I like some of the things he translated. But some of it, he missed it a mile. And I have another one done by a Jewish man. Let me see, there's someone's calling me here. I'm sorry, I can't talk. Okay, this one here. I'm sorry. Okay, this one here is done by a Jewish man. And this is the entire New Testament. And some things he took directly from Lamsa. Absolutely directly. But I want you to notice the Aramaic. We'd say, isn't that Hebrew? Look at it. Yeah, that's what you would say. It's Hebrew. But you see, there is no such thing as Hebrew letters. These are all Aramaic square letters. They're Aramaic square letters that were used by the Chaldeans. And that's what they used during that time. And so, and then he doesn't, when he sees the word in Aramaic, Allah, and in Aramaic it says Allah, but when he puts it in English, he puts Elohim. He gives you Hebrew instead of Aramaic. And I just don't like what these guys do. because it's book learning. It's book learning. Then I have one that's done by a computer, another one which I have way over on my shelf, and it's done by a computer, and the computer knows nothing about nuances. It'll only put in the word that you put into the computer. It's that one word. It cannot choose. And this is what's called the Aramaic translation. Now, when I first started, none of this was in existence. This has only been done after the year 2000. These things have been done. And this Mr. Gabriel took a lot from Dr. Lamza. And some things he disagreed with, and so he just did it his way. He did it the Hebrew way, but not Aramaic, which is totally different. And the present Hebrew, the present ideas of Hebrew. The Jewish people today in America are not that familiar with the Aramaic. Okay, they're not. Dr. Lamza, when he was in Philadelphia, taught at Dropsy College, which was a Jewish college, and taught them Aramaic. They asked him to come, and he did that. This is way back in the 30s and 40s when he did that, or maybe it was the 50s, but he did that for the Jewish people to show the difference. And when I lectured in San Francisco, in California, at the church there, I had the heads of the biggest synagogue come to hear me talk about Moses, and from the Aramaic point of view, and they loved it. And he brought his whole staff, just the staff, came to hear me when I was speaking there in San Francisco. And from the biggest synagogue in San Francisco, they wanted to hear what I had to say about that from Aramaic, and they all came up to me and loved it. They just loved it. So you see, this is something important we're doing here on Wednesday nights. And I wanted to bring out some of those different things. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. Okay, so let's have your questions. Are there any questions? Let me go to the chat. All right, I told you it always appears on this side of my screen, so I have to lean in and to look at it. I would like to hear your interpretation of Acts 19. After saying this, he was taken up to heaven as they watched him, and the cloud hid him from sight. 19? Acts, 1:9. I'm sorry, I didn't see the separation. 1:9. This takes time to talk about the ascension. You're asking me about the ascension. I would have to explain several things. I teach a whole class just on the ascension. Just like for me to teach the resurrection, what really took place and what happened at the resurrection, I taught ministerial students that. I also taught the ministerial students about that very verse in Acts 1:9. And you have to be familiar. I have to talk about mysticism. I have to talk about how they saw. I had to talk about what the mind can see that the eyes cannot see. I'd have to go into too much detail, and that would end it tonight. In fact, I would leave you hanging because there's so much I have to explain about why ascension, okay? And you'll have to wait for another time for me to teach on that. I'm sorry. I won't do it. The reason why I won't do it is because it will be unfair to you and unfair to me, because I wouldn't be able to explain the fullness of it. So you'll be able to capture the full meaning of it, okay? All right, let's go to the next question. Sorry about that. Please forgive me. All right. I missed it. What is the name of the book? A Burst of Conscious Light. And there's the author, Dr. Andrew Silverman. Dr. Andrew Silverman. A Burst of Conscious Light, okay? All right, next one. Thank you, Rebbe, for keeping it simple. Straightforward is another. Okay, thank you. All right, based on what I'm learning tonight, just reading Lamza's Holy Bible and the commentary leaves me still wanting and confused. Here we go again. I could watch 10 videos a day, just let go of the dogmas and doctrines and mind training of Western Christianity. Is there a video series of each book of the Bible, of the Aramaic by you and Lamza? No, I have not done that. Not done a video on each book like that. No, just the writing. And when I talk here, this is why I open it up for questions. Of course, you can't learn everything all in one sitting. It is impossible. Can you eat all the food you need for a year at one sitting? Won't work. Won't work. Or even for a week, can you eat all the food one meal for a whole week? You wouldn't make it. Wouldn't make it unless you're deliberately going for a fast where you become weak. Okay. So it takes time. You have to take time to learn. When I was with Dr. Lamza, I had loads of questions. The first time I met him, and when I picked him at the airport in San Antonio, came from my house, and of course he was to speak at the church, Calvary Missionary Church. And there I picked him up and he ate with my family that night. But when I picked him up early in the afternoon, that's when you can meet them right there. When they got down from the plane, you meet them right at the gate. And this was in the 60s, 1960s, 1965. And there I talked with him for 8 solid hours without stopping. That is, I had question after question after question after question after question, and he answered them all for me. But you see, I already knew the Bible. I'd been a minister. I was co-pastoring there at Calvary Missionary Church with the senior minister, Reverend Frank Stribling. And when I was working there, I already had the whole knowledge of the Bible. I knew everything that was taught from the Bible colleges. Then I also continued. I have all the latest. I've always kept up with everything scholarship says about the Bible. I've always kept up with that. Always, even today. And I kept up with it. But when I was with Dr. Lamza, I said, you hinted at this in your commentary. You hinted, and he only had 3 commentaries then. He had one on the 4 Gospels, one on Acts to Revelation, and one on the Old Testament. That's all he had. I said, you got to write more. And in fact, he was getting ready to make his transition when I met him. And he got up in front of the people in the congregation in church. He said, I was ready to die. And then he pointed to me and he said, this man here has stopped me. And we did. We worked together for the next 10 years. We were always together, even when he got ill. I would go on up to Turlock in California, and there I would fly from San Antonio to go on up into Northern California. It's near Modesto, Turlock is, and that's where he is buried there. His remains are there. So I had lots of questions, and believe me, they never stopped. Even though we did 8 hours, and he answered a lot of them, and he wrote, he says, I'll write more commentaries. Well, then I helped him write, and we wrote together then. And even when he wrote another new one, it still wasn't complete. I said, you got more. So I understand your question. You cannot clear everything from your mind at just one sitting. It takes time. And believe me, I gobbled his books. I ate them like they were the most precious things in the world, the most delicious food I ever ate. And yet I was with him, and he told me things that he would not tell publicly. Now I tell it. I don't keep anything secret. I tell it. I tell it. If I feel the urge of the Spirit for me to release it, I do it. I do it. That's why I did this one on the I Ams for Living Truth 365. Spirit released it from me, so I was able to tell it. And so that's what I do. I don't hold back now anymore like I used to. I held back on a lot of things because of the people are so choked full of dogma and dogmatism and all the teachings that we have learned that it's harmful. It hurts when you hear something that's the opposite of it. And then where do I go from here? My boat is being rocked. I don't want that. See, and it's hard on people. I understand that. But when you're hungry, when you're thirsty, you'll drink. When you're hungry, you'll eat. And people who say that they're hungry and thirsty, but when the minute they hear something opposite, oh, they run. The devil, that's the devil. You know, people used it during the pandemic, used misinformation, misinformation. That's the same thing. It's the devil, the devil, the devil. It's a religious way of speaking. Shut the mouths of people who say something different from everything that you've heard all your life. Shut their mouths. Call them devil. Call them misinformation. Call them anything you want. And that's what the populace goes for. It does. And that's why we're in trouble today. Okay, in translation, the word attack. Why would Yeshua tell the men was possessed to attack the pigs? You have to read the commentary. I've got the whole commentary explained. I already explained it. I explained it several talks ago. Right on this program here. I explained that because he was a Jewish teacher. He was a Jewish teacher. And these were people of Gadara. They were Syrian people. And they were mentally ill, and he healed them. And they did that as a gift for him because he was Jewish. And they shoved a couple of pigs off into the water there, off the cliff. Let me tell you, the scriptures too have a lot of exaggeration, and they didn't take the whole herd. 2 men didn't take the whole herd and shove them into the water. Just a couple of pigs. And they did it as a gift because he was a Jewish teacher and a Jewish healer. Okay. Can you explain more on the comment you made that there are no demons? We have to fight. I don't know what TY is there. Okay. No, there are no demons. Only demons I have are the ones that our thoughts become demonic. Our thoughts become demonic, and you have to watch for it when they take over. But there are no supernatural beings trying to do it to you. It's your own energies that are haywire, and they have to be straightened out. When Jesus healed the mentally ill, some things were just things that was eating in them and which made them mentally sick. And he was able to dismantle those thoughts and give them the proper thinking and the proper thought that held them, because he was a holy man. And this holy man is telling them, and they believed in him. And because they had faith in him, when he said those things to them, they were healed. Because in the Near East, they didn't have doctors like we have today. They had those special healers. Some of them were phonies, but Jesus wasn't. And he and some of the Pharisees had healers too. And Jesus talked about them. He says, how do your sons cast out demons? That is, heal the mentally ill. When they were trying to accuse him that Beelzebub was doing it through him. And he said, no. He says, it's the kingdom of God has come to you. So, there's so much. I mean, there's so many scriptures, so many things I would have to explain that people are drowning in all this other stuff that we have learned. Okay. Your YouTube videos have been extremely informative of the ascension and other misconceptions due to indoctrination. Yes. Thank you. Does Jesus teach us clearly what happens to us when we die? That is, leave this body. What does he teach? No, he did more than teach it. He demonstrated it. He demonstrated that we survive the mind, the spirit. Now, when I talk about mind, I'm not talking about the brain that's stuck in here. In fact, the brain is merely synthesizing what mind is putting through it. And in fact, it's a filter, and it holds out a lot of things on us. Jesus demonstrated it by his own resurrection, not physical resurrection. That's why I didn't want to get into the ascension. This was a spiritual happening to him. His body transformed. He was no longer physical. No longer physical. That's why I couldn't get into it. Okay? Let me see what we have here. Did Jesus teach us clearly what happened to, I did that one. Is there a Christian equivalent to the Jewish Kabbalah or Sufism? Oh yeah, Christianity also developed a form of mysticism, and we've had it all in Christianity for a very long time. In every single age, there's always been the mystics. But the Kabbalistic is definitely Jewish, and it's mystical. But that's not new. Before the Kabbalistic, there was the Merkava. And the Merkava was the throne of God, the mysticism from the throne of God. That's Ezekiel. That's where that comes from. Okay. TY means, oh, thank you. I didn't know what TY was. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Errico. All right, that's it. Now, don't forget, next Wednesday, we will continue. And this coming 2 Sundays, I will be on this next Sunday and the Sunday after that at UTM, and you can go to our website to get onto that. And then we have next Wednesday, and then our December 10th, the Christmas special. So invite your friends, but they still have to register. We have to know each one that's registering for this so we can send that to them, because we're limited in the amount. Love you, everyone. Have a good rest of the week. Appreciate you. Love you, and see you soon.